Hello and welcome to the Yoga in Black podcast, where I have conversations with Black yoga and wellness leaders from across the country. My name is Tereney McDowell, and I too am a yoga instructor and the creator and host of this show. Each week, I'm joined by Black yoga instructors, meditation instructors, or holistic wellness professionals to have a conversation about anything under the sun and the moon. We'll talk about a large variety of topics with the intention for you as listeners to get to know us, get a feel for the vibes, and find your next yoga instructor if you're in search of someone to learn from. All episodes of the podcast are pre recorded, so if we talk about something that happened a while ago, bear with us. We're doing the best we can with the time that we got. Thank you so much for listening, and I hope you enjoy the show. Hello again, and welcome to the Yoga in Black podcast. My name is Tereney McDowell, and I am your host and creator of this show. And I am so excited to be bringing this platform to you all in a new way. Originally, we started out as an Instagram live stream, but now we're a podcast. And that intention was really to just broaden the audience, bring this to even more people and have many different ways that you can interact with it, because I know Instagram is not everybody's cup of tea. It's slowly and quickly, actually, not even slowly, quickly not becoming mine. But it is a great platform to connect with people, and I am extremely grateful for it. But I wanted to expand my reach. And what other way than a podcast? So here we are. I can't believe it. And I'm going to do my best to get through this episode, through all of my excitement, because I am just thrilled to be here. This has been on my mind since the beginning of it, but I wasn't quite sure how to do it. And plus, I really wanted the visual aspect of it because I wanted you all to get to know all of these fabulous instructors and professionals by face and not just voice. So that's still going to be incorporated in this podcast. You can hear this on whatever streaming site you use. You can also be a subscriber to our YouTube channel where the videos will be posted. But I didn't want any limitations. So here we are, and I can't believe it. And I am uh, I can't think of any other words besides excited, because it's perfect. It's the perfect word. But for those that haven't known about this platform prior to this podcast, like I had mentioned, we started out as an Instagram live stream where I would go on each week. And actually, I started out more than once a week. It was like 3 times a week. But it was quarantine. I was bored. So, I had to figure it out and, fill some time. But I would interview other instructors on Instagram Live and just talk about yoga, talk about life, talk about our experiences as Black people in this world, this wellness journey, this everything. Because yoga is for everyone, and I've always believed that and will always believe that, regardless of where it comes from, because it comes from so many places. But what we most know is the Indian tradition, the ancient Indian tradition, but there were also ties in Africa too. So we have a connection to yoga, and I'm so happy to see so many Black people finding that connection. But it's always a challenge because yoga in the United States looks very white, and white spaces are not always safe spaces for Black people. And I wanted to make sure that the people that wanted to find that safe space could find it in an instructor, in a studio, wherever. So I went out to talk to my colleagues and my friends within the yoga world, and if asked if they were up for it, and so many of them were, and then it just grew from there. I think within the time that I had the Instagram show, I think there were 47 interviews that were placed within a time span of about a year. Um, and it was so fun. I got to know so many people. And even though this was originally a Dallas based thing, I always had intentions of taking it outside of Dallas, outside of Texas, even outside of the United States. So by changing the name from DFW Yoga in Black to just Yoga in Black, I have broken the chains of geographical boundary, and we're just going everywhere with this thing. So I am I am just I'm gonna say it again, but I even said this on Instagram a lot too. It's like I'm so excited because I'm always so excited with this thing. It's a dream come true. And I am I'm grateful to everyone that has been a part of it since the beginning. This wouldn't be possible without all of my friends that I've now made, and I can't wait for you all to meet them again or get to meet someone new because there are still plenty of new faces and voices that are coming to this show. Y'all, the excitement is just it's boiling over. It's really boiling over. The structure of the show really is just there isn't one. It's just two people, two friends having a conversation, talking yoga, talking life, talking the Black experience within yoga and within wherever it is that we reside. Anything and everything, unless they specifically say something is off limits. But it's really just an open conversation. We'll definitely have yoga as the forefront or whatever it is that my guest profession is as the forefront. But I don't like boundaries. Well, no, I shouldn't say that. Boundaries are great. I don't like limitations. I don't want anyone to feel like they have to only talk about one thing here. I want this to be just as open and honest as possible because really, like I had mentioned, this is an opportunity for you as listeners to get to know all of these fabulous people that are out here and find who vibes for you. I've always felt that finding a yoga instructor or someone to guide me through meditation is a lot like finding a romantic partner or even a therapist. And it's really about finding someone that you trust to be open with. Yoga and meditation open you up to so much, not just yourself, but everything. And it's difficult to be able to feel safe and able to be open like that when you're in community with someone that you don't feel comfortable with. And it's difficult to get to know people in the moment, especially if you're walking into a studio and just taking a class or, finding YouTube's or YouTube searches to find a guided meditation or whatever apps there are out there now. You don't get to know that person. You get to see their instruction, which is important, but it's also important to know that your ideals, your philosophies align with theirs too. And that's what I wanted this to be is a space where you can get to know that and outside of their instruction, outside of anything else with their job, who are they as a person? And have they had similar experiences to you? How can they guide you through these things? Do your energies match? Is there some type of synchronicity there? And oh, I'm gonna keep tripping over my words because I am just this excited. But to keep this brief, I'll talk a little bit about myself since really I want the show to be a focus on my guests. This is not about me, this is about them. But a little bit about me. I originally hail from Iowa and I moved to Texas back in 2015. And I love telling this story because just a week after I finished my 200-hour yoga teacher training, I moved to Texas. So I had all of these great ideas of all the things I wanted to do, the classes that I wanted to teach in my community, and then I left my community. So I kind of had to start over completely in a completely new space. I didn't know anyone, barely had friends down here. So I really started from scratch. But yoga helped me do that. I was able to, hop around at a few studios, see what vibe worked best for me, found one, started making some friends, and then, kept moving around from there. And without talking about 7 years of details, here we are now where I'm wanting to make this a little bit easier for anybody that's kind of like in my situation that I was back in 2015. If you're new to a space and don't know where to go, now you have a resource to find where you can go. I was really looking for spaces where I found people that look like me. That was very important to me because I experienced harm in a lot of predominantly white spaces, and it was difficult for me to want to practice outside of my home, knowing that a lot of the studio experiences I had, were that same thing where it's just it didn't feel safe, it didn't feel comfortable. But I desperately wanted to be outside of my house practicing a little bit more, especially since at the time I was really asana focused. But I've started to shift that now, so I'm a lot more comfortable with my asana practice at home and just allowing the rest of Patanjali's 8 limbs to embody me and or me embody them without it just being an asana focus. So yoga has really transformed not only for me, but it has transformed me. Um, but I've been teaching, like I had said, for about 7.5 years now, I think. And it's been such a rewarding experience. Every time I finish a class, I want to cry. And that just might be my cancer rising, but it is always such an emotional moment because I'm living a dream that I didn't know could be real. Um, Growing up in Iowa, it's predominantly white. I did not see a lot of black people doing yoga at all until my mom got into it. And when my mom invited me to a class, I was like, okay, this is cool. All right. There were a few black people in there as well. So I'm like, okay, we do this. This is amazing. And I had some experiences with yoga before, but they didn't sit well in my spirit. So I was very, very leery of yoga in general, but I was also entering it in a very limited mind frame where I only thought it was bending, stretching, and um a lot of deep breathing, which yes, that's important, but that wasn't the only thing. And I didn't really have that spark moment that I love to call it the spark moment. Um that really made me tap into my bliss body. Um, I didn't have that experience previously. I think I was just way too in the weeds at the time that I tried to experience yoga. But that last time that really helped me understand it more after I was done with that class, I knew that I wanted to have yoga be a part of my life forever. There was no timeline to it. I'm like, this is happening and it's gonna happen as close to every day as I possibly can muster. Um, so I found a studio, started practicing a bunch, and about a year later, I enrolled into a program and got my 200-hour yoga teacher training certification. And my whole plan was because I didn't have enough black faces, bodies, all of that in the spaces that I was practicing in, I wanted to at least be in the front of the room and show people that not only can you be in the room, you can be in the front of the room too. You can be an instructor. I think I had experienced one black yoga instructor when I was in Iowa, and that was it. That was it. And it wasn't until I got to Dallas that I ended up being able to find a few more. But I guess it's always been a bit of an issue for me to find black owned anything or black led anything because let's face it, things get pushed to the side in favor of our white counterparts. And I really just I needed that to change. But being so new to the Dallas area, I was really more focused on just trying to establish myself. I was still working full time in my corporate job. So yoga was really kind of a side hustle at the time. I taught a couple classes after work, just like about twice a week, and ended up getting on to some apartment classes where I was living. And back in 2019, I reached a point where I couldn't handle working my corporate job anymore. I needed to be done with it. And I started making plans to resign and make yoga my full-time career. and I had made budgets. I had done all of the planning to make sure that my finances would be okay. And the plan that I had worked, and I ended up acquiring several jobs that would have helped me pay the bills, along with some other things that I had set in place to alleviate some financial things for myself, and hit the ground running in November of 2029 or 2019. Why did I say 2029? But in November 2019 is when I ventured out into the world of being a full-time, quote unquote, yoga instructor. And it was so awesome those first few months. And then coronavirus happens. Um, and it was scary at the time because I just quit my job, and here I am with all of the places that I was teaching closing because of health concerns, which is, I expected that. But no one plans for a global pandemic in or when they're, deciding to quit their job and venture out into entrepreneurship of sorts. Um, so that was very scary. But in that time, since I was I had a lot of experience teaching in person and in studio. I started to try to put some YouTube content together prior to the coronavirus, but it was difficult to find the time to do so since I was working full time and also teaching a few classes after work. But now I had the time to do so, and also started live streaming some classes as well. And it was awesome to finally see so many people offering, yoga that we could access right from home. And that was when I started noticing, like, there are so many more Black people doing this than I even realized as a Black person. And then unfortunately the George Floyd murder happened, and that was a really pivotal time in not only this country but around the world too, because that sent a ripple effect around everywhere. um but that that moment that everyone was really paying attention to the lack of diversity, or just making sure that people understood that Black lives matter. Um i was i was just full of energy, of things that I wanted to do but didn't know how safely, because I'm a bleeding heart at the end of the day. And as much as I wanted to be out there protesting with everyone, I also knew how dangerous it would be with, COVID being a factor. And knowing that if I contracted COVID, I wouldn't be able to work, and that would be a big ripple effect in my own life. So I'm trying to figure out what best can I do to lend a helping hand in this. And I led a few donation based classes that donated funds to, um, I believe it was there were a few mutual funds going on in at the time to help with protesters that were arrested and their legal stuff, and I think a couple other things too. But led a few of those, started some other regular donation based class, just to give people an opportunity to get a little movement in, get some meditation in, reset their mind, because it was a really heavy time for everyone. And then I'm like, there's something more that can be done, because I'm one person and I only know so many people, meaning that I'm only able to help so many people. But I know that there are others out there that are doing the same thing, but I can't find them. How can I do that? So I started looking for them and was like, why don't we all just have a conversation, get to know each other, and create a platform that allows people to find us, get to know us, and work through their shit with us, because it was so needed at the time and is always needed, but that it was very, very, very obvious at that point. Um, so that's where this baby came into my mind, is to get online, start an Instagram live, have somebody join me, and we just grab a beverage and just start talking about all things yoga, all things wellness, all things holistic, and the Black experience. And 2 years later, here we are now at a podcast. And I am I'm overwhelmed with the memories of it all right now, because as I'm, telling this story now, I really can't believe that we're here and still going and progressing in a way that I always imagined, but I guess I just didn't fully believe that it would actually happen. So I'm really happy to be here, and I'm happy to have you here listening along with me. And I can't wait for you to just meet everybody, because like I said, I've already met some fantastic people, and I know that there are a gang more that I am just geeked for me to meet, for you to meet, all of the above. But I think I've said all I needed to say for this introductory episode. Um, if you have any questions about anything, feel free to leave comments however you'd like to leave comments. If you'd prefer to or directly email, you can email admin@yogainblack.net. You could also find some information on our website. It's www.yogainblack.net. If you're an instructor and would like to be included in future seasons, that's a space where you may schedule your recording session. It's closed right now, but there will be announcements for when it is open again for season 2 recording. But if you're interested, you can either email admin at yoga oh my gosh, admin at yogainblack.net, or you can DM our Instagram page, which is at yoga.inblack. Um, that's the only platform that we're on right now as far as social media. Working towards getting the others, but like I said at the beginning, social media is a great tool, but it is a pain in the ass. That's just where it is. It's a pain in the ass. But Instagram is the only place that we have for right now, along with the YouTube channel, which is just Yoga in Black Podcast. Um, if I'm getting that right. If not, there'll be an actual link in any of the descriptions that you find wherever you are consuming this media, whether it's YouTube, whether it's the podcast, and whatever streaming site you use. We'll be sure to include that information for you. But thank you so very much for making this possible, for being here and listening in. And I can't wait for you to meet everyone. Oh, you guys, this is going to be so fun. All right. Thank you so much for joining, and I will see you in the next episode. Bye.